Right guys, what's happening? Just finished up that gym session there in the warehouse gym with Barry here, and we're just going to go through a couple of questions now for you guys. A couple of you have been interacting with me on Snapchat, sending them in, so we're just going to go through 5 questions. We're going to delve into a little bit of detail on them, and we'll see what you guys think. So the first question, I'll let you answer it first, Barry.
Yeah.
What got you into this fitness lifestyle?
That's a good question. I suppose with me, I played sports all my life. I played rugby all my life specifically. I went to boarding school, and then kind of come transition year, like I suppose I was always the small guy in the team, and I hated that so much. I hated being the small guy. So when I was in transition year and I got to the age where I could go to the gym, I was in the gym every day. Now it worked to a certain extent, but my nutrition was off for a couple of years until after that. So I suppose it went from there, and I kind of slowly started getting into the bodybuilding, and I started picking up the bodybuilding, you know, muscular development. And I was kind of like, oh, I like that, you know. So I was on that extreme side of it then, and I think it just went from there. And then, you know yourself, it just kind of, it builds into something that becomes a lifestyle. And then after that, you know, you kind of had people kind of asking me for advice, and then I was kind of like, I liked helping people, and then I was kind of like, geez, I could make a career out of this. So that's kind of where it went from there, I suppose. You the same?
Personally for me, it wasn't until I finished up first year of college, it was that summer, so I was going to go into second year of college, that I was kind of like, for first year of college, I'd really done the dog in it, if you like, for want of a better word. Basically, I was out boozing the whole time. I used to be eating, like, you know, frozen pizzas in the oven, like, you know what I mean? And what happened was, because I'm only like 5'9", 5'10", I was developing that skinny fat, you know, that sort of look. And then kind of when summer came and college was over, I was like, oh, this has to change, like, you know what I mean? I was like, I think that does become a point with a lot of people. They like look in the mirror and they're like, I have to do something about this.
Not happy,
you know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
So basically, I got into it for a couple of years with a few of my friends who were more experienced than me at the time. My nutrition was still not good up until kind of the last year and a half. Eventually, one thing led to another, and you know what I mean, got the nutrition on point myself, started helping out people, started to realise that I preferred helping out people more as opposed to actually focusing on myself. The more I went into it, I was kind of like, I would enjoy seeing people get results more than looking at myself for a six-pack in the mirror. Do you know that sort of way?
That's cool.
So yeah, we'll just move on to the second question now. So again, Barry, we'll go for you at the start. What would you change about the industry in Ireland?
The fitness industry in Ireland, it's a good question. I suppose there's a lot of things you could change. I think for the most part it's just to educate people more and just kind of brush out a lot of the confusion that's there. I think there's a lot of, not I want to say bullshit like, but there's a lot of kind of misinformation and misguidance out there. Like even just for example, a lot of the detoxes and some of these products that people end up kind of wasting their money on, and then they think they're the problem, and it's kind of like, why isn't it working for me, and they give up, when it's really just boils down to people getting their nutrition on point, training hard, and having a bit of patience and consistency. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of stuff out there, like I said, you know, misinformation and just kind of needless products and stuff like that, that I think, fair enough, you know, companies are going to be out there to market that stuff and make money, but I think, you know, if there could be a bit more kind of clarity on that, and people just realise, look, it's very simple, you just have to kind of get the basics right first, and then, you know, if you want to fill in the gaps with, you know, certain products and stuff like that, by all means. But I think that's where people go wrong. They think there's a quick fix, and then when it doesn't work, they're kind of like, oh, what's wrong, is it me? And then they just give up. So I think that's something I'd probably change. Would you be similar yourself? Or?
Absolutely. Well, I'd agree with the points you're making. Again, it's down to the company that's selling the product. It's down to who they're, you know, getting to advertise their product. So if they have somebody, for instance, who has a big following, chances are some of their fans are going to believe them so much, they'll hop on that. Personally, for me, I'd like to change kind of like the whole intimidation factor in the gym. I think it's a big one, particularly here in Ireland, and it stems from kind of like, it stems right all the way up. So if you look at younger groups of guys, you know what I mean, they're always wondering who can bench more, who can lift more, and it becomes an ego thing. So I think if I could change one thing, it would just be the fact that people wouldn't be afraid to go in and exercise, that they wouldn't be afraid to be judged, and that like these groups of people who were like, oh, what can you bench, what can you squat, what can you lift on this, that they'd be more so like, okay, how are you finding this, you know what I mean, do you think you're developing more using this, and things like that. So
each to their own, I think, you know what I mean.
But I think for the most part though, as you said, bar people who are just pure strength powerlifters, the intimidation factor is definitely something that needs to change, and that's down to society too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I think that the onus is put there. There's a lot of pressure put on people and society. You know, and social media it's huge today. It's all about image, isn't it? You know what I mean? So there is a pressure there. So you can see why people come into a gym and they straight away feel like they're being judged. But it's funny. My friend Paul makes the point a lot to people that, you know, people come into the gym and they're like, they have their first session with you and they're so nervous and they're like, well, people are looking at me, and they're like, you have to stop them. You're like, look around. You're like, trust me, no one's looking at you. Yeah. Everyone's just worrying about themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Every guy in there is just looking at his arms in the mirror. Yeah. Every girl is just worrying about their glutes. Nobody cares about you. You know, not in a bad way. Exactly. Everyone's just worrying about themselves. So
nobody goes into the gym to look at other people.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, like, you know, so everyone just do you, worry about you. I think that's the best advice you can give someone in that sense.
Okay, Barry, you're now 24.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
5 years. Yeah, I suppose a lot can happen in 1 year. So, like, you know, 5 years is a long time. I suppose I take it day by day, but I have thought forward, and I'd like, I suppose, obviously just the business to have grown immensely. That would be great. To have a bigger following, to have helped as many people as I can. In terms of the actual personal training, I like the idea of online coaching. You know, it's something that kind of, you know, it takes experience as well as like one-to-one. I think you have to start off in the gym floor. You don't just become this online coach overnight.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's something I'm realizing as well. You know, it takes a while to build up. You need experience. And you need to be able to deal with people face to face, one-to-one like that. So over time, I'm looking at a lot of those good online coaches out there, and I would love to be able to branch off more into that and pull away from the gym floor a bit more. So yeah, obviously build as big a following as I can, and hopefully go the online route a bit more. And then probably some other areas, you know, like public speaking and stuff like that, areas where I'd be weak on. I think we're all weak on when it comes to stuff like that. Stuff that scare you, do way more of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely,
and just grow as much as I can. And I think if I keep doing that, and, you know, kind of pretty much day in, day out, keep challenging myself, like never, you know, be happy but never kind of satisfied, you know, constantly pushing myself, I think I can go and do good things by 5 years time even. So I don't know, are you the same or?
Well, personally, I'm 21 at the moment, so 5 years time I'll probably be about 26.
Yeah.
So as you said, a lot can happen in 1 year.
Yeah.
So much can change, even over a couple of weeks. Things can just blow up for you. But I think definitely the online coaching is definitely going to be the route I'm going to be going down long term. It's more affordable for people, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't have the money to be paying personal trainers every single session, you know what I mean?
That's it.
So I think that's an affordability about it. Also, like, what's brilliant about that is the, you know, the constant support that people have with you. You know, I just do it myself through WhatsApp. So they're always there, you know, be like, what do you think of this? Or I have a meal prep today. Can you give me any good ideas on things to pick up that might fit into my goals? So I hope in 5 years time, I hope to have expanded an awful lot. Again, I would like to do maybe some public speaking. Hopefully, because I was just at Body Power at the weekend, I'd love to go over there as a sponsored athlete in the future. I think 5 years is sufficient time to maybe go for that. So that'll be crazy to be over there at a booth. But we'll just see what happens for the moment. Keep taking over.
Yeah, keep going.
Question up is, what advice would you give to anyone trying to make a career in the fitness industry? So this is very popular at the moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, like I suppose I don't think I've made it by any means or anything, but like if specifically all I can give advice is on what I've done. So specifically for if there's like a 17 or an 18-year-old guy out there who's looking at this and he's saying, yeah, I want to be a personal trainer. The advice I could give you is it takes longer than you think. It takes longer than an 8-week course or a 6 or 12-month course to do it. I've seen lads who kind of they kind of do a quick course and they think that's it, I've made it, or, you know, it'll be fine, it'll all snowball from here. But it really takes a while. You really have to get your name out there, and that just takes, like, you know, talking to people, doing things that you probably, you know, don't like doing in terms of, you know, that are going to scare you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, social media is huge today, and there's just no two ways about it. Like, you know, even I had this thing of like a year ago, you know, that fear of setting up a Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the same.
You know, you're afraid of what people are going to think, and we all went through that. Like, you know, one or two of my friends who are personal trainers went through the same thing, and you look on a year later and you're like, why didn't I set it up a year, you know, earlier?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry about what people think, because if you do, you're not going to grow. You're going to plateau. You're going to stop, and it's going to stop you from growing to where you want to be. So I suppose my best advice is to just work hard. But like, be smart about it, you know, realize that like we're in an era now of social media that like you can reach so many people just through Facebook or Instagram.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. Get yourself out there, you know, and basically you have to remember, especially from a PT point of view, you're trying to help people. That's your passion, is helping people. So you kind of stop and say, well, how do I help people? Well, by putting value and content out there. Like, what do people want to know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you can easily go into a gym and start doing a training video or start talking about yourself or taking pictures, but people don't want to know about you. They want to know how they can fix
how can they
and better their lives.
Yeah.
So putting up posts, like I try to put up, you know, mainly posts about nutrition. That's someone who isn't even in a gym, who is at home and is reading it and saying like, well, should I eat this food, or what's the story with carbs and stuff like that. So it's putting valuable content out there that people can take from it. And if people buy into you like that, people are going to come to you, and I think that's the way you're going to slowly succeed. And then it just starts to build and build and build, and then it kind of snowballs from there. So my advice is just basically like that. Yeah, just keep working hard and put yourself out there, put content out there, and help as many people as you can, and it'll kind of take off from there.
I think definitely my probably best piece of advice with this would be just be consistent with your posts. Make sure that you like judge yourself on a week-to-week basis. Be like, okay, how many posts did I get up this week? If you're just starting off, chances are you haven't made that transition over to Facebook yet. You're probably just on Instagram or maybe a little bit on Snapchat, maybe the odd time. So I would just say, just make sure you end up maybe 3 to 4 posts a week. Definitely. Just hit that as your kind of go-to, and then any more as a bonus. Try and get as much content out there as possible. Obviously, as Barry said, the more valuable the content, the more people that are going to follow you. But definitely at the start, just be persistent with it, you know what I mean? Never give up. Don't be worried if you're only getting like 20 likes on your first few photos, or you know, if someone is slagging you, be like, oh, I seen you up online, putting up that picture. Do you know what I mean? Don't let their thoughts come into play with your mind. So like, you have to remember, you started this for a reason, and if you want to make a career out of it, or if you want to go far in it, you're going to have to push all that bullshit aside, focus on you, and not really care too much about what others think.
Yeah, I think that's the underlying message there, the biggest message, just to go back to what you're saying it there again, is really, if I could go back even 5 years myself, another way of phrasing it, I would say don't care what other people think. Really. And it's so tough. I'm one of those people who still does it, and it's still, but for the most part, like, all it's going to do is stop you from living the life you want to live. So my best advice is literally don't care what anyone else thinks. You do you. No matter
it is obviously a lot more easier.
And it comes with confidence as well. You know what I mean?
Like, but it will grow and grow and grow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
These things take time. And as you said, you talked about the snowball effect. Sorry, one thing will lead to another. Once you have everything in place, and you know what I mean. If you are legit, everything's going to happen for you.
That's
you know what I mean?
And then just nothing substitutes hard work. Do you know what I mean? You can put all these plans in place, and you can talk about this, and you can not care what people think, but hard work, nothing's going to.
You got to be willing to put in outside hours around the clock. Actually, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Ben Francis. He's the owner of Gymshark. I just met him over the weekend. But like, Ben was somebody who, when he was, I think it was 19, he was working in Pizza Hut part-time outside of college, and he's gone on now to create one of the most successful brands in the world, just through hard work. He was telling me he'd finish in Pizza Hut, or he'd finish uni straight on it, trying to work on that Gymshark. You know what I mean? And look where he is now today. If you work hard, you'll get the results. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
That's it. That's all it is. There's no kind of quick fixes, or there's no secret, like, you know.
No,
it is always,
not to long-term success or making a career out of it in the long term.
It's consistency of hard work. Like, that's all it is, really. You'll see all the successful people say that. It's just consistency of hard work, day in, day out.
And the last question then, we've obviously kind of discussed it a little bit, is the top ways to grow your social media.
Yeah, that's a good one. You'd be good at this as well, because as you said, you've really grown in the last few months. I suppose we kind of talked about it even in the last question. It's about putting up content, putting out content out there. That's what's going to help you grow. Now, I know the way Facebook and certain platforms are going now, you're kind of paying for advertising, especially Facebook now. You're going to end
sponsored posts.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way it's going, I mean, if you don't kind of boost posts, a lot of the time, sometimes it won't even show up in people's feeds, unfortunately. But saying that, it doesn't mean it won't completely. If you put up good content that helps people are still going to like it, people are going to share it, and people are going to start to see your page, and people are going to come to you. Do you know what I mean? So I think, to be honest with you, my biggest advice, to keep it short and sweet with this one, is consistent content, day in, day out. You know, at least several posts a week. You know, there's no point putting up, like, you know, you know, 3 posts and then nothing for a week again. Do you know what I mean? Consistency is huge. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like that was my kind of downfall for a while, and still is, where I can be a perfectionist, and you're kind of like, no, that's not good enough, and you don't put anything up. Put stuff up there, chances are it's going to help a few people out there. Do you know what I mean? So just don't, you know, again, don't worry about what people think, but just put content out there. You know, realize as well as there's more than Facebook. You know, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's so many platforms now that are out there, and the thing about it as well, you can drip feed people onto different platforms. So on your Snapchat you can say, you know, I just put up a new post on my Facebook page. That's going to get people onto there. So just be smart about it. But I think the biggest kind of advice I can give is just to be consistent and constantly put up posts, constantly put out content that's going to help people. You keep doing that, people are going to keep coming in. As simple as that.
I think just in 2017 right now, I think we have had the best opportunities ever. If you look back to a couple of years ago, even 10-15 years ago, the advancements that have been made in terms of technology is crazy. There wasn't Snapchat back then, you know what I mean? You weren't able to advertise yourself as much. So like, in terms of growing your social media, I don't think a lot of people realize, but you don't have to go and work at a 9-to-5 job right now for the rest of your life. You can work from social media. You can create your own job from social media. It doesn't have to be through fitness. It can be through videography. It can be through anything. You can actually, your actual business can be based around social media. You know what I mean? So in terms of growing that, it's crazy. You should not feel under pressure to go and do well in the Leaving Cert. You should not be like, oh, I need to get 550 points to go and do this course. You know what I mean? If your interests lie elsewhere, you can make a career out of anything. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think each to their own. Like some people want to do this and it takes 550 points, and more power to them. It's perfect. I think it's just and hopefully we're coming to that stage where it's been said enough that, you know, people think that they don't get certain amount of points in their Leaving Cert, that's it, you're you know, oh, what'll I do from now, like, you know, I'm doomed to fail. But that's not the case at all. If you want something, there's always a way. Do you know what I mean?
It's not to be all and end all.
Not at all. Like, if you're willing to work hard, like, you know, there's nothing stopping you. Like,
what I would say is, find your passion, work hard at it, and you can make a career out of it.
Absolutely.
You can make a career out of anything in 2017.
This is it. Like,
anything.
That's it. And I suppose as well, I'd say to people, don't worry. I'm a prime example of someone who, like, even like while I was doing my Leaving Cert, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was still like, because like I remember 2 or 3 years before transition year, I remember saying to my mom, I was like, I haven't a clue what I want to do. She was like, no, you'll know when it comes around. And I came around and I was like, I still don't know what I want to do. And she was kind of like, what? And I was like, no, I haven't a clue. Like, and she was like, well, you like rugby and you like fitness. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I still really don't know what I want to do, because, you know, you're surrounded by friends who are like, oh, I'm doing engineering and I'm doing this, and you're kind of like, oh my god, am I a loser? What is wrong with me? So like, it can take a few years. Like, I'm 24 now, and it's only even the last year that I have full clarity that I know what I want to do. So if you're 17, 18, 19 or 20, heck, like, there's people going into their 30s that are going back to college, people in their 40s are changing
careers. So 100%.
Like, you know, don't think like, you know, you have to know, or even if you do something you're like, you might decide, actually, this is not for me, and you go back and do it again. You know what I mean? There's no one right answer, you know. So just, I suppose, that's the biggest advice you give somebody. Like, don't be in any rush anyway. You know, it takes a while to get that.
And then maybe from a broader perspective, what I would say is, if you're somebody of that little bit older, say if you're past college, right now you're working in a job that you don't like that much, you'd much rather be doing something else. Like, what you really have to do is put in the hard work around the clock. So say, for instance, you're a teacher, just for example, and you don't like teaching. You've realised after a couple of months, you know, you're like, do you know what, this isn't for me.
That's my friend Brian Keane. That's the exact same. He was
a teacher, was he?
Yeah.
So anyways, just going back to that point, you cannot finish work at 4 o'clock, go home, and then fucking ring your friend and tell her how shit your day was, if you're not willing to go and put in the work to change your career.
This is it. Like,
you have to go and you have to be like, right, I don't like what I'm doing. I need the money from it at the moment. So until I get more money, I'm going to have to change it. So I'm going to work around the clock. I'm going to put in hours and hours of work to get out of that job, to get into where I want to be.
Exactly it. That's exactly. Gary Vaynerchuk, I don't know if anyone.
I know, I know him. I like him. I'm a big fan of him.
Same, and I love it because there's no bullshit, and he just puts it out there simply for you. And he said exactly what you're saying there. I mean, if you don't like your job, it doesn't mean you go quit it in the morning. But, you know, find your passion and then put the plans in place to get there. You know, it's going to mean you come home some evenings at 7 o'clock from your job. You left at 7 that morning, and you're kind of like, oh, but you know what, you're going to have to do another 5 hours of outside work, you know what I mean, if you want to get where you want to get. So, like, you know, like you kind of said yourself there, like people kind of, they're not really happy in their job, and they're kind of like, oh, but like, you know, if you want something different, you're gonna have to change. You know, if you want something you haven't had before, you have to do stuff you haven't done before.
That's it, exactly. And to be honest, the harsh truth about it is, the person you're giving out to about your job probably does not care enough about it. You know what I mean? No matter how close you are to them, they're like, okay, that's your life, that's what you're doing. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm not too concerned. Like, it's crazy. You could be on the phone to your best friend and be like, do you know what? I hated school today. Oh, it's Monday morning again. I hate going back around to it. And they're going to give you a generic answer like, oh yeah, I hate Mondays too. You know what I mean? Well, why do you hate Mondays? You know what I mean? Why not go make Mondays your favorite day of the week?
Yeah, it's I think it was Gary Vee that said that. It was like, you don't hate Mondays, you just hate your job or your life. You know what I mean? Change it. Like, complaining is not going to do anything about it. And I was guilty for it, and still am at times. But it's something I've really knocked out of myself. I'm like, rather than sitting around and giving out about this or giving out about a person or your job, do something about it. Because if you say doing the same thing, it's like Einstein's definition of insanity, like, you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So it's kind of like, change something. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was Aristotle actually that said excellence is a habit.
A habit.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's probably one of my favorite quotes ever. You know what I mean?
It's so true. And when it starts to kind of come clear in your head, you realize, you're like, oh, that's what he means. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's fairly simple, I think, really. You know, it doesn't mean it's easy. Things are simple, but it doesn't make them easy. Because, as we say, it all involves the
I think we're going to wrap that up for today. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. And if you'd like to see more, maybe myself and Barry might do something again in the future. Who knows? But for now, guys, I'll leave you with